If you're not going to the NBA, stop training like it. This is Kiyan Anthony, son of Carmelo Anthony.
So my only problem with this take is the assumption, right? The assumption that Kiyan Anthony isn't working on those other facets of his game that are going to be needed to translate well over to the college game, right? The spot up shooting, the dribble penetration and kicking out, the closing out with high hands and moving your feet on the defensive end of the floor. This kid has unreal access, right? Unparalleled access to high level training and high level basketball knowledge around him. One could surmise that he is getting the proper direction by these people on what he needs to be working on. That does not mean that he cannot then go and work on other facets of his game, especially for a kid who has solidified himself as one of the top 30 high school players in his class, who has played in like the Jordan Classic All-Star games and is going to Syracuse, a very high major prestigious college. That does not mean that a kid of his caliber cannot then go and work on these other facets of his game that are being, displayed in this video, with the thought process that I have bigger goals in mind, I have ambitions, and I have things that I want to continue working towards because I know what the end goal is for me. Right? To me, by you telling him to stop working on these things because you're going into college is a dangerous game, because now you're messing with kids' confidence, right? What got this kid to the dance is this style of training mixed with, just learning the game properly, learning the fundamentals, learning the foundational stuff, but also incorporating great one-on-one skill, a confidence and an aura about him that he can take on any player who's in front of him and attack him at a high rate. That level of confidence was bred by this style of training, and that is going to translate well to any level of basketball, because when you have a certain level of aggression, you become naturally hard to guard, right? Regardless of if you're playing with unlimited dribbles or playing with two dribbles. When you do things assertively, when you do things aggressively, you are going to be hard to guard. So his mindset will translate over well to the college game, because he's going to be a kid who's just going to attack nonstop, right? And that was bred by this style of training more so than it was him, shooting the ball in spot up scenarios, him coming off down screens, him coming off flare screens, him, doing things that you may think are more college oriented, or that style of game oriented. Again, it is important to be a well-rounded player. It's important to be able to learn the game, to be able to play in multiple different styles with multiple different players in multiple different scenarios. All of that is true. But that doesn't mean you have to limit yourself to one style of training, right? And for me, just from a confidence perspective, you telling the kid who largely has gotten to this level by being an aggressive attacker, high volume scorer, to, only perform now as a off ball player with limited touches and limited space. It's just a confidence hit, right? It's an ego hit that you don't want for a kid who's 18 trying to be the best player that he can be, right? You want this kid to be a dog. You want him to have the mindset of, I can attack whoever's in front of me, right? Regardless of if it's one dribble or five dribbles, I can get a shot off on anybody, right? And I can be aggressive. And I think Syracuse, who has not been in the fold that they have been historically as of late, probably wants that out of him, right? There have been college players to have higher usage rates. Think off the top of my head, Kemba Walker, when they had that amazing run to the national championship game, right? Like, think Jimmer Fredette, for an example. I'm not saying he has the range of Jimmer Fredette or whatever, but like, there have been these moments, right? And I think he's a player who, in terms of like who's a bucket, who has the most fluidity, who has the most skill, right? Like, he may not be a high caliber athlete at this point, and he may not be seen as a high upside guy in that respect, or from his size or his athleticism. But in terms of his skill set, of this class of players coming out, there may be one or two guys who are as skilled or more skilled than him, right? Think Elijah Arenas and maybe one or two other guys, but it's few and far between, right? Not many guys have the skill level of him who can score all these levels. So it's not crazy to say he can go into college and he can be a primary guy and average 18 next season, right? And those players who do average 18 do have more opportunity to extend their dribble a little bit and play more isolation basketball in certain vacuums and in certain spaces. So I say all this to say, should he work on getting buckets out of 1-2 dribbles? Absolutely. And I'm sure he's doing that, right? He has some of the best trainers and the best basketball minds around him. Should he work on, closing out and playing defense in a college setting with college spacing? Absolutely. He should do all of those things. But he also should continue doing what got him to the dance, what bred the confidence in him and allowed him to become the caliber of player that he is, and continue to try and further that, and not limit himself by only the college game. Because the reality is, if he spends, a year, 2 years, 3 years in college, he will, especially with the work ethic that we've seen and the progression that he's had from his freshman year to this year, if he continues on that track, there's no reason why he shouldn't have the NBA on his brain and continue to feel like he can be a good scorer at that level, right? He's seen it. He's competing against NBA players in his training. He's going up against these guys one-on-one. He's feeling the intensity level, the strength gaps, the athleticism gaps. And to be honest with you, for a lot of guys, not having that is the limiting factor for them, right? Like, not being able to play at a consistently high level of competition is the limiting factor for them. He has all the tools. He has all the resources. So for you to tell him to put his game on hold and put his progress on hold for one thing, I think is wrong, right? Incorporate it all, learn how to be a great basketball player and play in any setting, but don't just take one facet out of your game that is largely determined why you are the player you are today, right? That just doesn't make sense to me. Peace.